I don't just want justice, I want vengeance. Someone knows something.
You're lying. We both know you're lying.
What other questions do you have?
You know.
What other questions do you have?
Into the murder of Jennifer Ramsaran leads to her husband.
Ganesh Remy Ramsaran was brought in for additional questioning on the murder of his wife, Jennifer Ramsaran.
My question to you is, tell me the truth.
I have. I always have.
No.
But knowing that the worst did happen, I want vengeance. We need to know what happened.
Remy and Jen Ramsaran met in college and decided to start a life together. They got married, bought a house, and had 3 kids. Although on the outside the couple seemed to be picture perfect, things weren't going that well at home. Jen was seeking refuge in an online romance, while Remy was having an affair with Jen's best friend Eileen. But after a year of secrets, it all came to an end when Jen vanished, leaving her family behind. 2 months later, her body would appear miles away from home, frozen and lifeless. The discovery unraveled a very different reality, one where Remy planned to remove Jen from the picture and start a new life with the money from her life insurance. Welcome to the back of the archive. Let's dive into this twisted love story of affairs, secrets, and murder. Our story begins in upstate New York, at the State University College. Jennifer Renz was an art major with a gift for painting, ceramics, and florals. She was quiet and introverted, but had a sweet personality. It was during her time in college when she met Ganesh Ramsaran, also known as Remy. Remy was much more outgoing, louder, and extroverted. They say opposites attract, and Jen and Remy began dating and eventually got married in 1999. The couple moved to South New Berlin, New York, and started a family. Jen became a stay-at-home mom to focus on their 3 children, while Remy worked as an IBM project manager. The family looked picture perfect. Jen was very immersed in her local community, and occasionally she would teach at Sunday school, as well as being a Girl Scout troop leader. Her neighbors remember her good heart and her predisposition to help anyone who needed it. But there was one member in the community with whom Jen became very close, her best friend, Eileen Sales. Eileen and Jen met through their involvement in the Girl Scouts and became friends instantly. They were very close, confided in each other, and would go the extra mile to help one another if they needed it. Eileen later defined Jen as being very welcoming and making her feel comfortable from the moment they met. From the view of an outsider, in 2012, Jen and Remy were happy as a couple could be. They were young, they had 3 great children, they were involved in the community activities, and gave out the image of being a strong, healthy couple. However, the truth was very different. Jen and Remy had begun to slowly grow apart and seek refuge in their own particular interests, away from their spouse. Remy got into fitness. He began training for marathons and completed dozens of them over the years. He was passionate about running and drove all his energy into his health. Jen's escape was different. She began playing an RPG on her phone called Kingdoms of Camelot. What initially was just a hobby quickly turned into an addiction, and Jen would spend up to 8 or 9 hours a day playing the online game, sometimes forgetting to make lunch or go to appointments she had. But these hours spent on her phone were not only because of the game itself. Through Kingdoms of Camelot, she connected with other players, and there was one in particular who she enjoyed talking to. His name was Rob, and he was from the UK. Rob and Jen began talking, and their relationship quickly became more intimate, to the point where Rob was planning on making the move from the UK to the US just to be with her. Jen told her best friend Eileen all about Rob and their potential life together. Jen had feelings for her online partner, to the point where she asked Eileen to stop at a store in the mall so she could smell the cologne Rob had told her he wore. The cold distance between Jen and Remy was obvious at this point, but while Jen confided in Eileen, her best friend was keeping a huge secret. Remy and Eileen had begun sleeping together. When Remy dove into his fitness journey, he was looking to escape the ever-growing distance between him and his wife. Jen wasn't interested in running marathons, but there was a close friend who was. Eileen often joined Remy in training and competitions, while Jen and Eileen's husband cheered for them at the finish line with the kids. This hobby quickly became more of an excuse to see each other, and their relationship went past friendship and became an affair. While some days she'd be walking around the mall with Jen talking about her marital problems, other days Eileen and Remy would sneak around and sleep together. Both of them would later say that they felt guilty after it happened, but that didn't stop them. The affair went on for months, even sleeping in Remy and Jen's bed when she wasn't home. Eileen eventually separated from her husband, and her and Remy had conversations about starting a life together. However, Remy was still with Jen, and even though their marriage was colder than ever, Jen still knew nothing about the affair, and they hadn't talked about divorce. Remy insisted he wanted to be with Eileen, but the secrets were starting to be too much for her to handle. So in November of 2012, she decided to end things with Remy. However, on December 10th, the two had another encounter where they slept together. The next day, on December 11th, Jennifer Ramsaran went missing.
My wife left this morning between 10 and 11, and she hasn't been back, and I'm really freaked out.
On the evening of December 11th, 2012, Remy Ramsaran called 911. His wife had left that morning to go shopping. She went to buy a dress for their daughter, and after hours, she wasn't back and wasn't answering her phone. This was very unlike her, so Remy was worried and asked the police for help. He told them he used Jen's Find My Phone feature, and he located the phone outside of town. However, when police investigated the area, they found no signs of Jen, her car, or anything that pointed towards an accident or a suspicious event that could explain why Jen was missing. After finding nothing, Remy went back to them and told them he found her phone in the area. It was undamaged, and he'd retrieved it from the ground on an overgrown area near a bridge. Police found this suspicious, but there was still nothing pointing at this being anything more than a possible runaway. However, days later, Jen's father found her van. It was apparently abandoned in a parking lot about 8 miles away from Jen and Remy's home in South New Berlin. Things weren't looking good, and after weeks of searching, police finally found 36-year-old Jennifer Ramsaran. Her body was found unclothed and tossed at the side of the road in a remote area. She had been dead for weeks.
I know you had hoped to find your wife alive. Can you tell me what the emotions were like when you found out that the body was Jennifer's?
The word surreal, it was crushing. It was crushing. I don't think I've ever cried like that. And just not wanting to believe that that was my wife. Or just, it was unbelievable. It was brutal.
How important is it going to be for you to find out what happened to Jennifer?
I don't just want justice. I want vengeance. Someone knows something. From the beginning, the first few days and weeks that, you think about the worst, but knowing that the worst did happen, I want vengeance. We need to know what happened.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you. That was Remy Ramsaran, the husband of Jennifer Ramsaran. Obviously, they had hoped to find Jennifer alive. Unfortunately, now he and his 3 kids will have to move on without their mother.
Jennifer's death was quickly ruled a homicide. The body had been out in the freezing cold for at least 2 months, so the examination couldn't determine an exact cause of death. However, there were signs that pointed at blunt force trauma on the head. It looked like she had been struck on the head with a heavy object before she died. Police had their eye on Remy almost immediately. He was the last one to see her. He found her undamaged phone away from the car and the body, and he had been trying to focus the attention away from him for weeks by talking to the local media and pointing at possible suspects. Remy told the police he suspected Jen was having an affair and had gone to meet this mysterious stranger. However, police couldn't find any proof of an affair, apart from the text messages with Rob, who when questioned was cleared immediately, as he'd been in the UK since Jen and him last spoke. When investigators found out it was actually Remy and Eileen who were having an affair, they began to piece a theory together.
Why don't you tell me the truth today about what happened that day? Not what you told us up to now, because I know it's not true. Tell me the truth about what happened that morning.
I logged on. I was already at work. I was sitting on the couch. She went over, she was finishing up her breakfast, went over, went downstairs, worked out, then came upstairs, took a shower, got changed.
See, that's the same old story. I want the truth. I don't want what you've been telling.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Obviously you're not giving me any answers.
We'll get to all that. I'm giving you answers. What do you think I'm doing?
No,
I'm giving you answers. And her and her phone did not
PCR.
leave the house like you say, when you say.
Oh yeah,
They left later.
Oh.
And you
Go ahead,
did not
keep
run
going.
down to lie like you said.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. Or you'd have been on camera. You'd have been on.
Remy, you'd have been on
at least
three cameras.
if not 4. And you weren't. You clearly were not on camera running through there.
I'll tell you it did.
You're lying. We both know you're lying.
What other questions do you have?
You know.
What
like
other
I
questions
know
do you
you're
have? Seriously, what other questions do you have?
My question to you is, tell me the truth.
I have. I always have.
No. Was she laying in her bed on that phone again? Playing that damn game?
Are you kidding me?
She was. I know she was, because we've got evidence to prove that she was playing the game and texting with somebody on the phone and then disappeared. Stopped doing it all of a sudden. The same time that you came home from dropping your kids off. So tell me what happened when you dropped your kids off and got home from school that day. And don't give me what you've already given me, because that's not true. Tell me the truth about what happened that morning.
I told you everything.
You tell me the truth.
I've told you everything already.
No, you've told me everything you want.
I've told you.
I want you to tell me the truth.
I've told you the truth.
That you had something to do with Jen's death.
Nope.
You got to tell me what that something is, so I
Lieutenant
know
Powell,
the truth.
I'm looking you dead square in the eyes. I've always told you the truth. Always.
And I'm looking you dead square in the eye, and I'm telling you, no, you haven't.
Remy's alibi for the day of the disappearance didn't check out. The surveillance footage of the area he said he ran through didn't show any sign of him. He was only seen in the final destination, the local YMCA. There was also physical evidence to back up investigators' theory of Remy being the one behind Jennifer's death. Traces of blood were found on the couple's mattress, as well as on the sweatshirt Remy wore the day Jen disappeared. The DNA confirmed it was a match to both Jen and Remy. Digging deeper, police also found that Remy had taken out an insurance policy on his wife through IBM, where he worked. In case of her death, Remy would receive $200,000. Although the evidence was mostly circumstantial, it was enough to build a case against him, and he was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Ganesh Remy Ramsaran was 39 years old when the trial for the murder of Jennifer Ramsaran started. All through the investigation and the trial, Remy insisted he was innocent. Eileen was initially at his side, supporting him, but as the trial moved forward, and all the evidence was presented, the phone, the blood, the false running route, the insurance policy, this made Eileen have second thoughts and begin to doubt Remy. The prosecutor's reconstruction of events went as follows. After dropping his kids off at school, Remy came back around 8:15 a.m. and hit his wife in the head with a blunt object while she was on her phone in the bed. After that, he allegedly dragged his wife's body to her van and dumped it before disposing of her phone as well as the car. Then, around 12:44 p.m., he proceeded to go to the YMCA in Norwich. Eileen was the one who picked him up from the YMCA, and she said she found it odd that he didn't ask her to go home with him to sleep together, like he usually did. Instead, he asked her to drop him off at home. Prosecutors believed he used this time to clean up and dispose of evidence, gathering his thoughts before calling the police in the evening. Remy's defense fought to prove otherwise. There was no murder weapon, no clear cause of death, and no eyewitnesses or surveillance footage placing him in the van. However, he also had another charge. While he was in prison awaiting trial, he tried to bribe a corrections officer. He offered him $100,000 if he helped him escape. This resulted in a second-degree felony charge for bribery. The evidence presented was enough for the jury, who sentenced him to 25 years in prison for second-degree murder and bribery. This case is still not over. In 2016, Remy won an appeal for a new trial, since he claims his counsel was ineffective at the time. Although this decision was reversed by a higher court a year later, in February of 2020, a judge ruled in favor of a motion filed by Remy's new legal team. This means he could get a new trial, since his counsel insists that the lack of expertise of his previous lawyer put him at a disadvantage in his 2014 trial. While he awaits the new trial, he's serving his sentence at the Great Meadows Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison in Washington County. The couple's children went on to live with relatives and have kept a very private life ever since. Thank you for watching this video of the Back of the Archive. Like, comment, and subscribe if you don't want to miss any new content. You can also check out the available playlists to find other cases like this one.